Right.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, man. Another episode, Unfiltered Kings podcast, man, where men and women talk to each other, not at each other. Season 2, man, we're trying to do it bigger and better than season 1. And so, man, we got another topic here tonight, man, that I think, look, man, if we start shedding some tears and things of that sort, man, and really go to a very intimate place, don't be surprised. But I think this one is going to be one of those who make you think and kind of make you revisit some things that we think we know. You know how we think we know some things and we never question it, but when we slow it down and have that conversation, it's like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be talking about alone versus lonely, different yet familiar. Alone versus lonely, different yet familiar. That's so much to extrapolate right there. And so you guys, sit back with us for the next hour or so, man, and help us extrapolate this. Before we get started, though, I definitely want to shout out the team. Carlos, you got anything you want to say to the people this evening?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Come in, get ready, pull up a seat, grab a mic, and let's have a good time. Let's get unfiltered.
All right, man. Good to have you here, Carlos. And then only female in our crew. And that's the only thing that I know. I'm working on something else. But without further ado, Diana, what's up? Say what's up to the people. You got anything for the people?
Hey, y'all. Good evening. I'm excited to once again be here to talk with you, not at you. Okay. But I do hope you all enjoy this discussion that we're about to have this evening. If you have any comments or anything, don't forget to add those in there and we will answer your questions as we can. All right.
Man, look, man, y'all heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again because I believe giving flowers while we're here. Diana's like a gentle gem, man.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much knowledge and wisdom that she has when herself. And like I said again, if you're not following on social media, you're missing out, right? Like you are missing out. Like seriously, you're missing out on great content, and it's not all in your face. Sometimes it's 1 and 2 liners, but it's just thought provoking, right? In this day and age where everybody the expert and all that, it's just regular everyday topics that you probably don't get the chance to talk about in detail, but it will make you think. And so if you're not following her, you're doing yourself a disservice, and we're definitely fortunate in having her a part of the team. Actually, tonight, she's actually going to take over the moderating hat. I'm just doing my due diligence and getting us started. And so that's definitely a unique experience that I'm personally looking forward to. So you guys kind of tune into that. Now, before we get started, thank you guys for watching us, but go and follow us. Go share information about it. Go like, follow, comment.
Whatever.
Facebook, Unfiltered King Podcast, right? Join the community. Join the family. That's where you get started. Like and follow. Everything breaking news, upcoming, first hot off the press. All that information will be on Facebook. And then we also are on Instagram. We're also on TikTok. We're on YouTube, so definitely there is a physical presence. And then also download the app Podbean. This is where we are at currently as far as our audio. Download Podbean, look up Unfiltered King Podcast, like, follow, share, join the discussion, leave comments. Only thing we add, just be respectful. You don't have to agree, even if you agree to disagree. But let's create that dialogue, man. Believe it or not, it helps us so much in order that we may be able to continue to put great content like this out and even take it to the next level. So even though we are here as a team, man, you all are part of the team. We cannot do it without you all. So definitely that's Podbean app. You can find it in the Apple store and also the Android store. Download that app on your phone and upload and look up Unfiltered Kings Podcast. And so you'll have all of our episodes from season 1. And then after the new year, we'll have season 2 uploaded on there. So again, you guys get informed with UKP and definitely start, following us so we can get that support. We would greatly.
Did you say great?
Greatly. Did I say greatly? No, for real. We'll greatly appreciate that, man. We're trying to do some bigger things for you guys and go some places in 2025, and we would love to do it with you guys' support.
Yeah, and we really do appreciate it.
With that being said, man, alone versus lonely, different yet familiar. That is going to be the conversation that we're going to explore tonight. I will tell you, when we first approached this topic, there were so
Mhm.
many emotions within myself, Carlos, as
Yeah.
a male, as a man, as a black male. There were so many emotions that you and I've talked as friends, as brothers,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But to be able to have a woman on the, and also a woman on the caliber of Diana to facilitate this conversation is one
Mhm.
I will say it's been few and far between. So
Very
I'm
much so.
definitely looking forward to how this thing kind of unfolds. Alone versus lonely, different yet familiar. Definitely looking forward to that. But before we get started, as always, man, we always say check on your people, be
That's right.
intentional when you're checking on your people. And so we like to do that here before we jump off into it. And so with that being said, we want to still shout out Frankie. Frankie usually
Thank
handles
you.
our vent sessions tonight. But my man, you know, it's the season that makes his job taxing. So we decided to let our man get some rest, man, and he'll be back with us on Thursday. And so we'll allow Carlos to kind of handle the vent session tonight.
All right, all right. In my Frankie voice, yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? You know what it is. It's time to vent. Breathe in and breathe out. All right.
Woosha.
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being bad and 10 being the best, we want you tell us how your day went. And we're gonna start out with Diana. Diana, tell me what's on your mind.
I did not mean to smack my teeth, but I'm at a 7 today.
Okay, okay.
I had a 4-day weekend, so I was able to do a lot of unwinding from the previous week. So I'm at a 7. I'm good,
Okay.
but I'm not great. So
Okay. We like that honesty. Honesty. So now we moving on to your man, the main man, James. Talk to us,
Man,
Jay.
stop it. And I feel put this one on me. Um, Yesterday was Veterans Day,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to shout out Diana. We
Right.
definitely
Yeah.
appreciate your service. As I always said, no matter how big or how small, we
Mm-hmm.
thank you guys for serving in a capacity that we can only think of. And
yes,
so
Yes.
I
that's what he
say that not
said.
only to you, but to all of our veterans
Thank
that
you.
Yeah.
are watching it. It is truly appreciated, especially in this climate of, I would call it political warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys to put all that to the side, either have your opinion, but still say, I'm gonna fight for the freedoms in
Right.
whatever capacity for this country. It says a lot. So let me make sure
Yeah.
that I get that off to you personally, and also
Thank
to
you.
those that are watching. Where am I at? I would say I'm at an 8, you guys, and
Okay.
I think I'm at an 8 for realizing sometimes I can put on too many hats.
Mm.
Um, so I'm practicing giving myself permission to say not right now or no. I'm
Yeah.
I'm giving myself intentional permission to say no, and I'm giving myself permission to tell myself yes, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that is something I'm being very intentional in doing. It doesn't necessarily have to look a certain way, but that's even okay within itself. Like giving my permission to say yes to me and the
Mm-hmm.
things that I want to or not want to do for whatever reason without giving an excuse, but then also giving that answer of not right now and no to others without having to justify it. So I'm at an 8 right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And last but not least is me, Los. I'm floating around about a 7 or 8. And to be
Okay.
truthful, I'm at that place because this conversation, like me and James talked about it before, takes you to a place where you really start thinking about it. And just doing a little bit of soul searching and research had me thinking, reflecting on myself and how I viewed a lot of things. So it was nice to sit back and think, for one, about me and about who I am and what I am. So I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm ready for this conversation. So I'm about at 8, man. I'm about at 8. About at 8. And since Frankie's not here, we're gonna put him at probably about a 7 or 8 because he getting some sleep. Should be getting some sleep.
Yeah.
But
All right.
as you know, this is the end of the event. Remember, check on your peoples. Take the time to stop and breathe in and breathe out. And
Breathe
you
out,
got
man.
this event session.
All right, man. And look, be intentional with that. You know what I mean?
Very
It doesn't necessarily have to be a powerful conversation. Sometimes it's just sitting in that space of, if you heard Diana, I'm at a 7, and that's just what it is. Okay.
Mhm.
Maybe it'll come later or whatnot, but I think being intentional before we start our topics, right? We have so many expectations of our loved ones and our friends that before they serve that expectation, do we really care about how they are in that space, right? Maybe they are not able to serve in that capacity in that space right now, and that's okay, right? So
Right.
checking on your people, man, that's very intentional. So, like I said, always one of the favorite parts of this show. Um, Alone versus lonely, different yet familiar, man. Look, this is where I am going to transition. As I told you guys, and we've told you guys before, we didn't never want this to just be an all guy thing. We wanted this to be a podcast where men and women can talk to each other, not at each other. And so we've been blessed with Diana. And so what'll happen tonight, she is more than qualified to facilitate this conversation. And so what we'll do, we'll kind of sit back and kind of become the interviewees, if you will. And we're just going to let her guide this conversation. And again, as men and women, man, out in the audience, uh, join into this conversation, right? We don't want to be talking at you guys. We have our debriefings and everything, but none of this is scripted. Like, I don't know where this conversation go. I told him before on the air, like I feel like I need to grab some tissue because as a guy that's within his emotions, like that's me, and so I'm anticipating, but I'm kind of nervous if I'm being honest. And so I've been looking for this all week. But without further ado, we'll turn over this episode to Diana. Alone versus lonely, different yet familiar.
Woohoo!
I know, right?
Get it,
Only
Diana,
female
get
in
it.
the crew. And she pick shit, you know what I mean?
All right, all right. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Like Jay just said, the topic is alone versus lonely, different yet familiar. So essentially what we're going to do here is we're going to first start off by defining what we believe being alone or being lonely actually is according to the dictionary. And then we'll give you our versions. Right. So being alone, right, it's a physical state of being by yourself or not with others. For example, no one realized the boy was alone in his room. So it's a physical state. Whereas being lonely is more so of an emotional state. So it means you're feeling kind of disconnected from others or separated, even when you're with people. So can you imagine going out, you know, with a bunch of your friends, and you're sitting there and everything is just going amazing, but on the inside you're literally dying. You feel so alone, well, so lonely in a sense that you feel not seen, not heard. You just kind of you're present, right? 100% present physically, but emotionally you're not there. So essentially, what I did was when I thought about this topic, I actually asked a few of my friends to give me some examples of times where they felt like they may have been alone or lonely, and what that looked like. So I'm going to read a few of these little notes that I got from my friends before I, interview my two brothers here on on their notion of what that looks
At
like for
least
them.
he was honest, Carlos.
Exactly.
So, oh God, 1 second. I had it pulled up already, but okay. So now this one was one of my male friends. So I love that. I was able to at least get one from a male.
Mm.
So you my two other males. So y'all stand by.
Okay.
So essentially, he says that he feels lonely when he's misunderstood most times. He's like, I don't have the same interests or beliefs as others around me. It's like I'm just there in my own world. And then he says, relationship wise, he feels lonely when there's a lack of emotional bonding, a lack of intimacy, or the connection is starting to lack because of our jobs, or they're just dismissive and uncaring, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate with that dynamic, right? It's happened to most people when it comes to the relationship aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So then one of my girlfriends says that her version of being alone, she says that when it comes to her being alone, she doesn't necessarily feel alone because her kids are always present with her. She says she actually enjoys being alone. She's like, having another adult around would definitely help because these kids, I'm reading it specifically how she wrote it, because these kids do get on my nerves at times, and I hate that I have to force myself sometimes to interact with others when I don't live near true friends and family.
Okay.
When it comes to lonely, I think I've never felt sad that a companion isn't physically around. But when I was in my past marriage, it's been many times where I felt lonely when he was around. Like there was a lot of tense, silent, and cold times while living in the same home. We actually bonded much better when we lived long distance versus when we were together. We had a lot of good times initially, but then as time went on, I felt lonely again, or the so-called married single mom.
Wow.
And
Mm.
then one more of my girlfriends, she says that I never feel alone because my kids are always around. I do get lonely at times because I miss the companionship I used to have with my ex. So what I did with her, because originally I was like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah, you have your kids, right? Of course, you're not gonna feel alone in a sense presently because your kids are there. So
Mm-hmm.
I asked her, I said, so when your kids are around, there isn't a moment where you feel alone, even though they are present. You on the inside, you still do not feel alone. Like you never was just in your house and just felt like, yes, your kids are running rampant or whatever, but you personally just didn't feel like you were there. And
Mm.
she said, no, I don't feel alone when they are present or inside. She said, when I was depressed years ago, I had that feeling. But since I'm not in that state, and I know even when I'm sitting with myself and they are gone, God is always with me. I find comfort in that. And I love that. I told her, I said, oh man, wow, I love that. That I think that's amazing that, you're able to be in such a headspace to where that no matter what, you get what I'm saying, you always feel that spiritual presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so essentially I say all that to say to you, Jay and Carlos, essentially, has there ever been a time where you felt alone or lonely? And I asked that because as we were talking offline, essentially a lot of times, a lot of men, not all, right? Um, you have those moments where you just want to bottle up, your emotions, and you don't necessarily really talk about the notion of, a time where you might have been alone or a time where you might have been lonely. I just want you to kind of each tell me what that looked like for you, and if you have any moments or times in your life where you either felt alone or lonely. So Jay, if you want to ring that off first, that would be great.
Man,
Mm. Yeah.
wow. As I was listening to your friend's commentary, I was reminded of my counselor kind of asked me something like this, and she told me to explain it to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, imagine standing in the world's biggest stadium
Mm.
Mhm.
and you're screaming to the top of your lungs. And the more you scream, you realize that this stadium is packed full of people.
Mm-hmm.
but no one is listening.
Mhm.
No one can hear you, right? You think that the solution is more into the raising your voice, but your voice can only go so much. You can only do so much.
Right.
The reality of it is, someone in that statement has to choose to listen to you.
Well said.
Mm.
There are there are several periods of my life, like I said, as you started talking about this topic. Even coming from a big family, it was
Mm-hmm.
what, seven of us, five of us, and my mother and father always lived together. And I remember feeling alone in that space and developing a loneliness,
Mm.
because the things that I love and I cared about wasn't the norm. So
Mhm.
you can't talk about it. No one
Right.
can relate to you.
Mhm.
And so that's honestly what made me start writing. A lot of people think it's from the talent and things. I could tell my pen and pad. First
Mm-hmm.
first poem in my book is called A Cheater's Confession. I talk about how I cheated on the world with my pen and pad.
Mm.
How I cheated on my pen and pad with the world. I can go be in the world this one way, but my pen and pad was always loyal to me. I can tell her everything because
Right.
the world didn't listen. And so that's how I just started writing, from that lonely state of not believing that no one believing that no one understands you, or not will understand, will take the time,
Yeah.
right? And Carlos and I, we talked about this before. It already sits on the foundation that men don't talk about their feelings.
That's right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So when I
Machines.
did it at an early age,
Mm-hmm.
my father, may rest in peace, he was a manly man. He was old school, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't get too many opportunities. And
Mhm.
then when you go out into the world in your second community with your family, with your friends, you definitely are looked up on, having already been have a twin sister, but you always looked up on something wrong with you. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't want that stereotype, right? So you just hold it in.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That I will stop right there. That's my first experience. I definitely have two others that just in my transition, kind of like how it started, middle, and where I'm at today. But I think that's where it honestly, truly started. I'll pause right there.
Okay. Thank you for that. Carlos, what about you?
Mine's gonna come from a different direction because
Okay.
those questions or those definitions didn't really apply. So having an understanding what it meant didn't wasn't applicable to me.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to these experiences, it was hard to come by because again, we didn't express this. We didn't
Right.
say these things, or trying to talk about things made you seem soft or something.
Yes.
So it was easier to avoid because I'm trying to look good for my peers, trying to
Mm-hmm.
not even just look good, trying to be um what a man looks like or what a man resembles. So this conversation or this question is a delicate one because again, it poses me to not even look at who I am now, but try to track
Right.
back and say I remember that time. But
Mm-hmm.
and speaking on the audience behalf, these definitions or these things are not talked about. So now
Right.
trying to speak on them now is like, man, I got
Mm-hmm.
to peel these layers back. So
Yes.
the experiences just was really difficult because then I have to take the time to understand what the definitions are, alone and lonely, what it means, how sometimes they change out
They're
and you don't know
intertwined
you
too.
changed them by
Mm-hmm.
accident and it doesn't apply to the other scenario.
Right.
And even now as I'm talking, I'm like, wow, at that time I wasn't lonely. I was just alone.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that being alone wasn't a bad thing because it gave
Right.
me sometimes clarity,
Mm-hmm.
understanding, peace. But again, those things I'm able to apply now.
Yes.
So those moments are kind of set in stone like that. That's really what I can say about what it feels like to me.
Okay. So I hear both of your points. One essentially coming from your childhood, and then the other kind of just intertwined throughout your life. So I guess my other question for the both of you would be, why do you feel those things weren't really talked about, or why do you feel like you at some point in your life you might have thought you were lonely, but essentially you were alone? Like what do you think drives you to, I guess, confuse the two? And on top of that too, we can even go to the relationship aspect of it. Has there ever been a time in a relationship of yours, whether it was a friendship or a partner of yours, that you may have felt alone or lonely? And if you were alone or lonely, what did that look like, or how did you communicate that to your partner, if at all you communicated it?
Man, I think, and we talked about this in episode 1, the reality of it comes from low emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You learn your ABCs, learn how to read, you learn how to write, you learn how to count. Who teaches you how to understand and express your emotions?
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes, if you don't have that, it becomes a learned behavior that, to me, can turn into a generational curse.
Mm-hmm.
A generational curse where it permeates so far into the family to where it becomes a learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Just like your name. Remember, I talked about this. Let someone tell your name is not Dan and not James, not Carlos.
Right.
You ain't gonna even listen to it. You're gonna reject it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think that's where it comes from, that low emotional intelligence. Like, everyone likes the sexy term, emotional intelligence, but the reality of it is, you think about, in my situation, in the context of growing up in poverty, I tell people all the time, and I believe this fundamentally, having lived it. Most people on the outside looking in think that the worst part about being poor is lack of resources.
Right.
Although that is a struggle, it is not the worst part.
It is not.
Eventually you can put the resources there, but if you don't have the emotional and spiritual foundation, you can have the resource. And I would share some with y'all, but I'm
take it there. Go ahead, bro.
I am telling you, you can learn behaviors that even when the resources are there,
that's right,
your biological clock will operate as if you're still in that condition. And so I think that's where we fail ourselves and fail each other a lot of time. We rush in and give the resources. But if I never had that resource and experience it at its highest level, or be able to experience the value of that resource from an emotionally intelligent mindset, and it's just like giving $500 to a 5-year-old.
Right.
And that's why I think, a lot of time, and then you think about the pressure of, if you do get it wrong, you're going to be judged. There is no place in society where you're going to be an exception. Someone's going to pull you to the side, whispering your, hey, no, you're going to be fully judged. Right? So who wants to be judged? And especially, as Carlos alluded to, as a guy, we got to have it all right? We are not a man if we don't have the answer, have it all figured out, whatnot. That's just what you were taught. Again, my father was a manly man. I saw my father go out, hindsight, would make a mistake and celebrate in the fact that I tried. No, you made it worse. You don't get credit for that try, right? But just because that was something that my grandfather was, right? Manly man. So looking back on that, you kind of understand, he was taught, it was a learned behavior, Go out and make it work, even when it's not in your capabilities. And so when you think about, when I say a low emotional intelligence, I also mean that on both sexes. I'm not just talking about just from a male standpoint.
Right.
Because also some females are taught that if a male does not look like this, or if he opens up and says some of these things, then he's less than a male.
That's right.
And so what we do, and the mistake that I made, is that anytime you want to keep a woman's affection, affinity, whatever you want to say, it's sad, but it's true. You quit being and you start performing.
Yeah. The machine.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the performing is that I'm still being.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what's the one I'm comfortable with? Being.
Mm-hmm.
So even as I'm performing and knowing the words to say, the right things to do and whatnot, but I'm still being.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with me, that performing made me think that since I done perform at a high level, I can slip in me being. Do you hear the dysfunction already?
Right.
This is in a relationship. Someone who love, what's that 4-letter word? Right? I'm trying to slip in. There will be a moment. I'll never forget. If she's watching this, I won't call no names, but it is what it is. There was a young lady in college. You know, we were serious and we were talking about potentially marrying and things of that sort. So we started talking on that level. And I never forget on so short, she said, just tell me about you. I want to know everything about you so that if we do this, man, we'll know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just heard what I went through, right? Oh, this is what? Tell you what, this is gonna be great. When I told her some of the things that I went through, now mind you, I'm in college.
Mm-hmm.
When I told her some of the things I went through and just growing up and what my reality is, she didn't want to be with me anymore. It was as if I could be blunt, the stench of my past was getting on her, and I don't want that.
Right.
But that's what made me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you asked for.
Right.
So if you can only imagine going through that, climbing to the top of that mountain, even opening myself up, right? Because these are things when I went to college. Oh, I very much so intentionally changed my character for worse. I'm not going to say for better. I'm going to become a new person. No one will know about my past. And the finally thing that you found someone who say they want to start exploring living forever, and you climb to that mountain and say, okay, I'm gonna go back there and take all those millions of blocks off of that, and I'm gonna peek inside, and I'm gonna trust you to peek inside, and everything is exactly like it is. I'm in a better place, but for you to understand where I come from, right, and to get that exploited and thrown back up in your face, that was a hurt that I wouldn't wish upon my enemy. And so, needless to say, it was almost like I didn't exist anymore because I'm perfectly fine and things of that sort. I don't know. It was almost like I was afraid of. She was afraid that was going to somehow get on her or
become
affect
her
her.
norm. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I would say, and I'll turn it over to Carlos. That's why men sometimes justify it being easier just to be quiet.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of time we operate in our toxic masculinity, which is not female oriented.
Exactly.
But we create it.
Right.
Don't know about it, curl nobody, so just get it done. No, that's completely wrong. Well, that's why we try to go out and put it all on us. And so understanding that in context, man, to just not feel that hurt, to not get close with anybody again, to where you trust them that much to disappoint you on that.
Right.
Yeah, that was a hard fall.
To begin starting even with this process, we may be talking about the experiences in relationships, but we could actually take it further back than that on how the look was established. In other words, the background I came from, you didn't see that. You know, like James said, he had a manly man dad. Well, I came from a single parent home. So what I gathered was I was the man. So then I had to wear shoes that were too big, answer questions I didn't know. So then formulating ideas and plans of something that worked, not necessarily right. And then as you grow older, you look at the people around, you're not hearing the word I love you or care, or, like James alluded to, you hear, keep working work, keep beating that square
Right.
peg into that circle.
Right.
So then you get older and you start applying these narratives to a relationship, and then you come into a relationship, now eventually my mom did meet my stepdad, and my stepdad was a pretty good dude. He showed me how to work, but that's that was his greatest trait, work. He knew how to work. I mean, to your finger just fall off.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good trait. So what I did, I worked. So I got a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have to work. I did. I brung everything to the table, thinking that was the answer
Right.
that would fix this, and it didn't. So when you talk, sometimes, like, even just coming from the audience point of view, these things that we're sometimes asking, we don't know, or I don't know, and then here I am now, an adult, and some of these questions get asked, and you go back and look, I still don't know the answer. I'm only working with a fragmented understanding. But how can I say that when I got James watching, or when I know I'm gonna step out, the first thing looking at my criteria, who I have, what my background is,
Mm-hmm.
as a man, these things are they carry weight, and some of them shouldn't. But when you're growing and you're trying to develop who you are, and you get at least one, I'm gonna say one gold star, you want another gold star, even if that gold star is in a place that's not even right. You just celebrate that it's a gold star. So as we begin to talk about it, and then you begin to apply, these things get applied to relationships. So sometimes I do get it as you speak, and then you hear people saying, you know, in my life, I'm thinking of what a relationship would look like and what it would be like. And it's kind of hard to articulate that sometimes, because where are you coming from? I don't know. But I can't
Yeah.
take what I do know. But I know, like James, I thank God for James, a very, very true friend. I mean, even now, still have the ability to say, hey, Carlos, I think, you kind of looked at that wrong. And I'm open to go back and look at that and change that. Now, that's not for every man. It's not, and not
Right.
every woman, but not
Right.
every man. And we are speaking individually. But I can say, at
Mm-hmm.
least from an audience standpoint, that not everybody can understand. Not everybody had that background. Not everybody had that that tutelage or that friend or that network. They're left to try to figure out, okay, what do I do? And some are watching this podcast right now saying, maybe I can get the answer. So when we speak on that, it really is sometimes kind of hard, because I can come from a place from me, and we can do this all day. But what
Mm-hmm.
is the guy out there thinking and say, you know what? I didn't have a father at all. All I had
Right.
was a mother. She was the strongest thing I
Mm-hmm.
had, you know.
Yes.
So does that make me less of a man? No, no. But there is some accountability in that. So I want to move it, try to make sure I move it back. But this is amazing. I mean, to have this conversation is still just shocking. Now, me and James and Frankie, guys, we talk all the time, but Diana, to speak and to feel like that I'm actually being able to be heard and hear myself say
Mm-hmm.
the things that I'm trying to realize and vocally say is amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, think about it. Those that's watching, young men, older men, any man that's watching now, saying, hey, look, I think I can relate to this. This
Mm-hmm.
might be me. And this,
And
and I think we're just doing it.
then if I can say this before, um, it's crazy because as I'm sitting here thinking and just being honest with myself, when you grow up in that mindset, you're not operating in right and wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
shit,
Come on,
excuse
Jay.
me. I say this humbly to the queens out there. There are times where a man operates in truth and right and wrong as a learned behavior at his later age.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Has nothing to do with him being a bad person. Because if you sit and you think about this, what's ironic is that right and wrong doesn't even have a place to exist because
Mm.
you're so emotional
Yeah.
about what people say, what people are going to think, what people are going to do. So really the majority of your actions and interactions as a male, as a man, as a black man comes from emotional state in which we have already identified you're not taught and you're not supposed to think about. Do you realize how that plays to our pride? Right. Because now the only person you can talk about it is yourself, and my pride tells me I'm always right. Mm-hmm. I'll be very transparent when I say this, and you know, I'm past the judgment phase because I'm a writer. Mm-hmm. I remember not wanting the disappointment of a female to reject me. Mm. But I remember wanting the feeling and comfort of a female. Yeah. I don't know if you remember on one episode when I was talking about my struggle when I was younger with pornography, but that's what it came from. Mm. You don't get to dealing right and wrong what you do as a male. You remember we talk about let me solve that for myself. Well, clearly that's the wrong way. Clearly that's not even. But who's teaching? Yeah. Right. And that's no disrespect to mom and dad. I love you, but there are things they could give me. There are things that they just didn't. We just got to be honest with that, right? Yes. No perfect parent. I'm a parent myself, and God knows I ain't perfect. That boy right there. So now I'm left to operate in my dysfunction. And from an early age, and Carlos said something one time, don't let it work. Right. Oh, with us as men, if it works, that's our right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Our right is if it works. Now, watch this. As I grow a little bit more, get a little bit more confidence, now if I find the female to just replace the pornographic desires, and she allows me, it's even more right. Mm-hmm. Now, you see what happened there? I never got to learn right or I'm going to say I never got to. That's a strong statement. Right. But I was never taught right from wrong, understand the woman, what their role is, what their responsibility is, how to value it. That was never an opportunity. It went straight from my emotion to an act, and that consistent act becomes right. Mm-hmm. So my queen, the beauty of seeing our failures is not always exploiting them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the beauty of it is, as Diana talked about on the last one, we're not saying stand there and be ran over like a rug or be you. Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm. But I do believe part of the power God gave you all is that you all can say and do some things in a way to wake us up. Right. That no one else can. And do not be surprised or upset that if at that point in time, believe it or not, and I know this is hard to believe, that's when the learning, and I'm not saying out of sight, out of mind, not knowing, but that's when the maturity. Mm-hmm. When we talk about emotional intelligence, when that start kicking in, because now we now have a catalyst in you. Mm-hmm. Now we can create a healthy environment. I don't want to lose her soul. Yeah. This is what's going to take to please her soul. This is what she means to me. So that in itself is a learned behavior. It doesn't just come to all of us just out the blue. And that's why a lot of time when you have your expectations, when they fall flat on the ground, it's not that we're not meeting your expectations. You presented your expectations in the wrong context. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And man, you know what, James, and that's actually well said as well, because it goes back to the same thing that you're alluding to, dealing with that. That's not just a male and female thing. We're just speaking on behalf of the males right now. That's something they do work with. Mm-hmm. But again, and again, speaking from the artist's point of view, as James alluded to, when I think it's right, don't demonize me when we begin to process that is wrong. And then I want to try to start breaking it down. Because I mean, let's just be honest. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I might have got that wrong
first thing is emotional response. Yeah, why didn't you come talk to me? Well, that's always wrong. Who taught you that? That's all of a sudden the door closes again. And sometimes we don't, and we're not taught to understand that, you know what? I see where you're going. Let me meet you there.
Carlos,
So,
can
Well,
I jump in?
come on.
I'm
Come
sorry.
on. Come on.
That right there, what you just said, I wish we had a time to do a whole nother podcast. Do you know how humiliating that is to a male? Where did you learn that from? And even
Boy.
if there's good intentions behind it, because I believe you can say you can do the right thing with the wrong process.
Okay,
But we can't tell you in that moment because it's so embarrassing and so humiliating and so hurtful that the judgment will come in, which will create another problem. So we cannot honestly live in our truth.
Yeah.
There are times, and we're not painting this across the board, but there are times where only to someone impactful, it's just like if your child come up and say something to you, you're like, damn, like that's different. That hit different, right? It's someone you care about, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we don't get to have those conversations as men because guess what? We ain't supposed to have the conversations anyway. And so here comes along a female that we really cut for, that we look up to, that, will lay down her life, all those things. Yeah. And they ask the right question, but in the way and context in which they mean it,
slam the door. Yeah.
And our truth is always here.
Yeah.
And we have to make a decision. Is there a place for that truth in your anger, being upset, being disappointed? Or will that add on further judgment and scrutiny? And like I said, in my situation, push me further away from you. I'm sorry, Dan.
Yeah. So I believe there's two parts to that dynamic of the door being shut, or humiliation, or or how she said it. And I had to chuckle a little bit when Carlos, you was like where did you learn that from? So like a lot of times when I hear that notion of like how your partner may have said something to you, a lot of times I think part of it is knowing your partner, right? There's filtered and there's unfiltered, right? So there are some people that when they are talking to their partner, they can filter it, and then there's sometimes where it gets unfiltered. But knowing your partner, is knowing when the filtered or the unfiltered version is gonna come. But on top of that too, I think a lot of times too, you allow it, right? So we will get comfortable in that notion of talking to you in the unfiltered way because you've allowed it. You like you said, what I'm saying? She said all those things to you, and you just closed the door. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like you said, "Oh, babe, that bothered me."
Yeah.
You didn't communicate. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how would you expect her to talk to you? And again, I'm not making excuses, but what you allow will continue. So a lot of times you have to stop it dead in its tracks. Hey, babe, I know we were just talking about this decision that I made, and I know it was a bust, but like how you came off kind of whatever. And then having those conversations, you know what I'm saying, you can filter it, right? So that for future, if it, you guys get into that moment again, it's filtered. And the other part of that context too is, I think I'm forgetting what I'm gonna say, but let me just I think the other part of that too is
and I'm like, I don't want to say anything to knock it all the way out.
Yeah, no. Oh gosh. Okay, I think I got it.
Okay.
So I think the other part of that too is
we got you.
Wow. This is wild behavior.
So well, let's just stay with the first part then, because I know there's a guy out there that's thinking this part. You want me to tell her and talk to her, hey babe, that wasn't right.
Right.
But if we back it up, the reason why it was done that way from the male, because I was never taught. So sometimes here's what we want. We want a response from something that was never taught. So there's an education piece for everyone. Because I'm gonna be
Right.
that I'm gonna be that dude.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I made a mistake. Why you do that? Wait a minute. First of all, why you talking about it? This is my first time doing it. Well, you should have known. Okay, how can I fix that when I'm like, hey, look, I'm trying to learn or I'm trying to process right now. So sometimes you got to look at it as coming from the man point of view. Look, I'm working here, and then you went here and here. So it's like, help me. I'm trying to meet you. So how can I correct or how can I negotiate when every time I try, the goalpost is moved?
Okay. Yeah. So I have it now. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to what you said after I say this. Okay. So essentially, Lord, I know I didn't forget it again.
Well, you on fire. I know you hype.
Oh, so no. Okay. So the other part of it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that process of her saying like, oh, how come you didn't know how to do X, Y, and Z? A lot of times too, you know, a lot of men, pride and ego is blooming. It's like through the roof. Your partner's like, hey, let's do it this way. You're like, nah, I got it. We're gonna do it this way. And then when you do it the way you did it, you get what I'm saying? Then your partner's like, well, why did you do, you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought we talked about this, you know. I kind of assisted you, you know what I'm saying, in how to do this. And you still decided to do what you wanted to do, right? Because the pride and ego has, you know, gone through the roof. There's no way your partner knows anything. Because you're the man, right? You got all the answers,
right?
You know. So when you have all the answers and your partner's trying to communicate to you an answer that can get you guys to the goalpost, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what you wanted to get. We trying to get to the end goal. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But anyways, so you're trying to get to the end goal. So that's the other part of it. And that I think that's sometimes when you're gonna get the unfiltered version, because it's like, sir, we talked about this. I gave you a suggestion that I believe would got us to the end. And you was like, forget whatever I said. You have all the answers. Because like you said, a lot of times it's learned behavior. So your learned behavior is your right. And so you get a person coming in telling you like, hey, babe, that sounds great. But let me tell you, prior to my experience, this is how we did this. But again, because your behavior is learned, right? One taught, you get what I'm saying? And that to you, it's right. You totally take away whatever your partner's opinion in that matter, and then it creates this, you know, little thing of, well, how come you don't know how to blase, you know, because that's part of the issue too, is one person wants to be right, you know, all the time because learned behavior, and then you have your partner who you should want to get input from, right? And you just don't take the input, and then you get that version also.
Okay.
So
Jay, I know you're trying to get in. Let me let you go. Go.
No. I love where she took it, and this is why we have to have conversations with each other, not at each other, right?
Right.
Now let's take it one step back and just rip the whole Band-Aid off of it, right?
Let's go.
This is a classic example how there are things that can be good but not good for us.
Right.
Exactly.
But let's be honest. Usually in the beginning of the relationship, these behaviors, if you will, are celebrated.
Oh yeah.
Avoid problem, avoid peer conflict mediation, or avoid reconciliation, or avoid all these things because we got these things.
Right.
Come on, y'all. Let's be real. You know, we got our resources, we got our food, and we got our clothes, and we got our, you know, these resources that we're not honest, and I'm just saying in general, that we're not honest with ourselves, is a substitute for the actual work we should be doing. And so
Okay.
in life, you're showing up at the job and you don't have the tools. And even if the tools are there, you never used them before.
Right.
So that's why you're frustrated. Like you said, you give a reaction.
Right.
Because I'm using a hammer to try to screw a nail in. Right? Or vice versa, like I said, because it's not gender biased. If you're trying to use a can opener to measure a wall, like you don't take the time to really say, well, Diana, have you ever even used a can opener?
Right.
Like
or
conversations, right?
Or ask for help. Hey.
Right. And the reality of it is, you watch this. A lot of times it's not on the front end, it's not asking for help, but watch this. You typically don't ask for help for what you think you already know.
Right. Agreed. The learned behavior.
The learned behavior to where, watch this. There are times where we enter into a relationship. This is what I want and think in my method. This is what I want and think in method. And what happens? We think we're cool enough, look good enough, got enough money enough that we're going to convince. It's called manipulation. That we're going to convince. It's called manipulation.
A little louder.
It is called manipulation. That we're going to sway this person to join us. Well, first of all, that's never going to happen. I have a twin sister. We don't do everything at the same time. We don't feel the same thing. There should be a meeting in the middle. And that is an ongoing trial and error conversation. But if we look hard and honestly, there are even married relationships that I know right now where they coexist in a business contractual mindset.
Exactly.
To keep the peace, we will acquiesce. There has been no conversation. There has not been any true nuance. There have not been no, like Diana said, well, baby, you just gotta be upset with me, but I'm over here. This is right. I cannot join you. There is no make a real decision. And so if we just be honest, especially in the relationship context, and bag that thing up, so to speak, no pun intended.
Right.
There is a lot of bad behavior started off, and what we do, we use for an excuse our genders. See, if I feel like I grew up the right way and Diana feel like she grew up the right way, well, hell, that's gonna be an argument right there, baby. Because get what? I'm not budging, you're not budging. But what's sad about it, to what the point she was bringing up, well, we probably all got some good and bad in us. But we never get to really explore, and this is the biggest thing I keep saying that relationship miss. We miss the blessing of using. If I have a weakness and you have a strength, that is a blessing. I don't know what gender you are. That we not that these days. Man, your woman really not. Yes, and she does. She handles that because guess what? She's an expert in it.
Yes.
So there is not a gender. We knock that. So there are layers to this, is what I'm saying. Usually we jump in through Z and we end the mess, and then we start trying to diagnose. Right. Go back to A. We usually don't even have these conversations until it comes up. And based on who did the doing, it's reactive.
Instead of being proactive, we're reacting.
See, before we deal with what does it look like dating and then our life on social media, before it gets to the like and you don't like, let's have the conversation. Because see, here's the problem. Life coach had. When you already dealing with emotion, remember we talked about earlier, Carlos? When you already have one primary emotion, those second and third and fourth emotion, boy, they will move that primary emotion out the way and enhance it. And this is a human thing. It's not a man or woman thing. So what really could be an example, let's say, for example, Diane and I, and we're talking and say, hey, what does dating and our dating each other, what does that look like in the social media realm? What could be a very easy conversation? Boy, I don't care about that. I know what I got at home. Hey, you know what? I feel that would do that. Now, when it's done in the heat of it, we have not had that conversation because me and Donna have been, this and that, and let's go out to eat and your favorite this and that. And now it's straight emotion. Shit, you think Diana, no disrespect, you think she's just going to approach that with, no. Because what she has not told and sat down and talked with me, all that's going to come and it's going to be implied.
Or
And
expected.
then what I'm going to do, I'm going to imply, because in my realm and in my thought process, it was just a like. Now I'm not even seeing her. So I'm going to feel that she should have automatically gone on. Duh. See, we never had the conversation. And a lot of time we leave ourselves up hanging by dealing with the emotion of the issue. And now all these emotions come back, but nobody step back and say, Daniel, did we ever talk about this?
Right.
Oh, you know what? Time out. So this is a good time to talk about this. So I have sorority sisters, whatnot, but if that make you fit, like whatever that looks like, right? Y'all get my point.
Yeah.
But we can now say, okay, let's have the conversation. Watch this, instead of having an expectation. And I think if I can say this as a male, I'm gonna quit prefacing that. You know who you are. A lot of times females have expectations of males without the explanation. I saw some on social media, and I'm gonna turn it over. If my man don't know what I like, then
mind
he's
reader.
not a man for me. So you want a mind reader,
psychic.
And when you really think about it, and it's just my opinion, okay, I can flood you with a lot of material things and get it right. You know, a broken clock is right 2 times a day. But what about how you feel?
Yeah.
What about if you had a long day for work and you come in and that mannerism is like, don't mess with me. I'm trying to, but I don't know that.
Right.
Hey, baby, I come in because I want some effect. How do I give it to you then?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, Don, I think you make a great point. And it's crazy how we keep bagging up, and even when we get stuck in that male-female thing, it's a human thing. Right? It just depends on how far we want to go back and actually look at the real issue. But I do think a lot of those things, because we're so busy avoiding those conversations. I don't want to lose her.
Right. I don't want to lose him. Yeah.
I remember thinking like this, Dana. I don't want to lose her. So what you do, watch it, and I'm not embarrassed to say this, I swallowed my own truth like vomit.
Yeah.
Just as a man thinking. I told you about, go back to episode 1 when I talked about my divorce. I remember thinking, as much as I love and I believe in love, that the man's supposed to get the approval of the woman, and the approval is her act of love. She didn't really have to do anything. And then you just do it all over again, because that's being a man. Could you imagine how used I'm gonna be used? Like, you so I can go. That's probably why she felt she can go do it, because I really believe that. Like,
yeah, what you allow will continue.
Right. There you go. And that's why I say we have to take some accountability on our own. A lot of time we're so busy. Well, you as a woman, when you as a man, no. Remember when we talked about emotional intelligence? The first point is self-accountability. Even if the damage was done to you, if you want to practice emotional intelligence, the first step is being self-aware of your emotions.
Right.
And then that second step is how being of influence. Being of influence within yourself, and if the other person allow you. That's not manipulation. Because if you have something real and you do something that's upsetting or hurt or whatnot, somebody real they're gonna cater to that. They're gonna show an interest to that.
Right.
But you first got to influence yourself, and that's what I'm saying. And I know this is seem like tongue in cheek as men, even though when I grew up struggling with pornography or being alone, having come from a big family, I still had to find something, some people, some ways to influence myself. If nothing else, I don't want to be like this anymore. And it has to be bigger than me, because I can live with it, right? And my secrets, I was living with it. I now have to start looking at how, and Donna said this on our last episode, how's it affecting other people, though? I am one of those people, but what often happens with us as fellows, Carlos, my pride. It's the gift and the I'm good. So if it ain't affecting me, Donna, you tripping. That's me. Donna's not me. Bible says she's a weaker vessel, has nothing to do with her strength, but that's what it is. Right? But you think about all these things we're talking about, because we don't have these regular, normalized, consistent conversations. we do end up being in the thick of things and now trying to extrapolate it, and we don't do nothing but just a bunch of emotional sparring.
Mm-hmm. You know what? And as y'all was talking, I wanted to bring to a point so the audience will understand too, is that some of these behaviors and some of these process, some of these thinkings were not just at every age. This happened. This could be in grade school, junior high, college, day-to-day life. Some structures and some understandings, a lot of them came from high school. Let's just be honest and going to throw it out there since we're ripping the Band-Aid off. I remember very clearly, y'all were not, ladies, you wasn't checking for the guy over there sitting on the bench. You were checking for the athlete, the dude with the car. Let's keep it car. Now, guys too, we want the girl that looked like this, like that. So what then happens is, like James said, what you expected got out in front of you, and then you went for what you expected. But then what you expected didn't match what you actually needed, and then thus begin a process. So then you started playing a role, thinking that it'll eventually change. And one thing I know, love do not pay bills. Love don't change no one who don't want to change. So as you talk about that, and then we keep moving forward, that's when we start looking at, okay, these things affect how I think, act, and respond. Am I going to choose to work on them? Am I going to choose to change them? Or I'm just going to follow with them and keep running with it until it gets to a point where I just have to decide, or I'm going to keep blaming everybody else, everything else, and let society continue to give me a societal structure that makes me feel comfortable in what I am and what I'm doing. So a lot of that has a big play, but let me pass it back to you, Don. We moving, so let me get it back, throw the ball back in your hands.
Yeah, I mean, so essentially we all have some good points, right, on the matter. So in the context of alone versus lonely, so there's been this notion in a sense of saying men have a problem with being alone. You guys can't be alone. You just have to essentially always be up under somebody.
Oh my
God! Always have to jump from one relationship to another because being alone is just not your thing. You can't thrive in aloneness.
Bring it my way.
Wow.
So what do you think about that notion? Men not being able to be alone.
So first of all, let me say this. And I think this statement I'm gonna say, it has an asterisk on it. There's nothing wrong with celebrating and being content in your singlehood. Let me say that.
Amen.
But this is where, as a believer, I think people conveniently take God out of it to put their emotions into it.
Because it's easy for them.
Because to me, I can go out there and want that Toyota to work like Carlos Lexus, but it won't. I'm going to have to go to a manual. So I'm going to go to the manual on this one. I read somewhere over in Genesis where it says, and when the human said this, it was, oh yeah, that man up there.
God.
Yeah. Can I?
And I know what you're going to say, but go ahead and say it. Please go ahead and say
good it. For me. Now we got to put
not
this
good
in
for
context.
men. Yep.
We got to put this in context. He's made everything perfect. Got with Adam, let Adam study it, learn it, name it, and then on the 7th day he was able to lay down and get some rest. We got to put this in context right here.
Yes.
Then a perfect God looked at his perfect creation and said, it is not good. What you mean it is not good when you created everything in perfection? If we can speak over that, then I'm sorry. As a believer, I can speak over that. So, fellas, no, we don't use women as to fill a void. We don't use women to fill a hole which we need to repair. We don't use women as a whoopee cushion or a teddy bear. But for the healthy thinking kings that are out there,
yes,
our founder, our creator said that it is not good in a perfect world. So I imagine that it's not good right now because there are so many blessings. And listen what we're talking about that we can learn and we should get from our queens. We just got to put the value back on it.
Yeah,
exactly. The value. Ooh.
Because if he said it is not, I don't think people get it. I'm gonna say it one more. He looked at a perfect creation that he created. And he's not good, did not even exist until he not good did not even exist until he recognized it. Do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
God discovered what's not good in his perfect creation. And the next thing he gave man, after he gave him dominion over everything, the one thing that he said you are incomplete and it is not good until you have this thing, was a woman. And he made it so personal. Watch this. Now let's talk about it, right? So don't give me this that, oh, well, man, you being weak. To make it so personal, all these other creations, I create them on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But
this woman that I'm gonna create for you, I'm gonna make her from you.
On the rib. Mm-hmm. Half.
And then when he woke Adam up, the first thing he said, and I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but we gotta talk about it. The first thing he said, you have to understand, everything else Adam had named, studied, looked at it, got a name for 6 days, because the 7th day they rest. He don't. You can't even name all the creations in this world, insect, animal, plant, and all these things. But when he saw this woman, what did he say? At last.
There is some.
I challenge you, just go study that in his regular Greek term. That is a jubilation of. It's almost like after a war, and you have finally gotten the victory, and you're finally knowing the war is over, and you're celebrating. There is a celebration. Do we look at women like that anymore, man? See, that's my thing when I always talk about semantics. What we do, we take grandma's china and treat it like a paper plate, and then we wonder why we get in trouble. Put the china back up there and treat it accordingly. And that's where the accountability has to be in this context, which as men, we will never learn these things. It's not so much as that we did not learn them. Yeah, there's nuance there. But when we do learn them, do we learn them in the midst of our ignorance? Which if we stare there too long, it eventually becomes stupidity, or do we fully take our time and learn it? Because it wasn't until I learned that from a scriptural standpoint, like, oh my God, this is. And here's the sad thing about it. I'm just gonna keep it honest, Dana. There are some women who don't even want that.
Same side of the
that's a whole nother piece. But there are some women, when you tell them all of that, I just want a man to do this. Wait a minute, no, but at last, flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone.
Conditioned.
Right. So yeah, when we talk about that, a man is, I think from a healthy standpoint, just trying to use a woman to fill a void or run from some work that you need to do. No, that's very unhealthy. That's what I think leads to our toxic masculinity, because we now substitute and deprive ourselves of our ignorance. Can be taught, right? We can learn, and so our ignorance becomes stupidity. But in the context of just, I think where some women use it to where it takes away from our value and pride. Our value and pride and our well-being is tied into the relationship of the woman that we choose, because our literal creator said so.
You know, as we talk about you ain't lying. Well, drop the mic. But again, in this context too, we take the opportunity to understand alone and lonely. And again, as you said earlier, alone is a physical state, where alone is a mental state. Being alone does not necessarily mean that it's wrong, because when you're alone, you have a long time with God. You can get clarity. When you're alone, you get understanding. You have the moment to stop and be creative. It's a place where you can actually take the time to reflect. You can actually digest or break down whatever needs to be done when alone. But when it comes to alone, it's more of a mental space or state when coming from or derived from. Now, remember, they can be interchangeable and they can coexist, and they can also be separate. But now you can be alone enough to become lonely. But the definition of alone, and when you make the word lonely applicable, doesn't fall in line like it would if you would say lonely and alone. Because if you're lonely and alone, that state can still be a diminutive or a negative state. But when you come back and talk about that, though, when they say men don't like. Men don't. No. Look, again, we're not using the definition of words right. See, the problem I have when these statements are given, like James said, they started at the period that was the end of the sentence. They didn't start at the beginning with the first word. No,
Right.
why did they say that? Did you understand who, what, when, and where? If I need some time by myself, that don't mean I got an issue. Maybe I just need some time by myself.
Agreed.
If that's true, then let me have that, because then on the other side of the coin, we want that. James said this back in one of the earliest shows in season 1. Women are given that space to be to themselves, to have a moment, to have time. It's almost guaranteed. I mean, you could be somewhere and they say, "Oh, give her a moment," or that, but let a man do that. Oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, suck it up. Now, I'm not trying to throw Jen out there, but I'm trying to say, look, when we make those comments and statements, man, come on, let's go back and see where they originated from. Let's not start at the period after the statement. Let's bring it back, because I know that one dude's out there talking like, why am I listening to all this good feedback, but then all I keep hearing is what I'm not doing, because that's what so many artists are saying. They're saying that I'm hearing y'all, but every time I'm hearing I need to be doing better. Well, hey, guess what? It's an education process. No, but I do got to speak for him, because he's saying, hey, look, I think this way, I feel this way. No, am I wrong? And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to get back to the basics, saying, hey, look, even men, even you, don't start the period. Go back to the statement. Go back to the beginning and start looking at and reflecting on yourself on there. Because being alone and lonely, understand the definition of the word. Because when it comes to a relationship, those words can make or break in some cases.
And Carlos, I can just add one thing to that, especially when it relates to our topic, alone or lonely. There are some things that, yes, we can discuss in the space of right and wrong. But I think to get full context of alone versus loneliness, what's effective?
Exactly.
Remember we talked about operating a high level of emotion intelligence or a low level emotion intelligence. A lot of time it doesn't necessarily look, it's not right or wrong. Kind of like Diana was talking about earlier. No, if she just says something out of shock and it's more reactive, right? It's not wrong, right? Like, she ain't coming at me wrong.
Exactly.
But is it effective?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that would be a better approach. Like, we typically, well, I hope we typically know what's right and wrong. If she say, B, you did, okay, first of all, you call me out my name. That's wrong, right?
That's definitely 100% wrong. And that means they have absolutely no respect for you.
Right. Yeah, we gonna have to
we have to go offline.
They'd be laughing we have. You don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But I think a lot of time we do get stuck in that space of right and wrong. I think what Dana said earlier, someone has to be right.
Right.
And we don't step back and take a few breaths and say, but is this effective? Right? Because if I've come up with a background like I did, and even though, baby girl, I've done something that threw you off kilter, well, what's effective is that I can still show my shock or disdain or whatever, but what's effective is probably not just to crap on him. Right. And I think, in all honesty, as a Black male, that's a lot of time where some women don't even think about that, because it goes back to the gender bias. Well, you're a man, you should be able to take it. No.
Yeah, you speak,
emotional abuse, physical abuse is wrong, is a human thing.
Human standard, yeah.
We know what the statistics are saying. Now, we're not going to get in the weeds, all of that. We can have that conversation later today. But when it gets to disrespect or wrongdoing, whether it's emotional, physical, mental abuse, manipulation, no, that's a human thing. No male or female was born with extra things in them to absorb themselves. If I call a woman a B, I can only imagine. If a female call me a B, I can only imagine, right? So I think a lot of time, to your point, Carlos, we have to unlearn some of these behaviors that kind of just float out there and we just kind of accept, and it kind of lands on me, up male, so that means this, kind of lands on down, oh, she's a female, so it means no, it doesn't.
Okay.
So we're going to challenge that on here and say, okay, let's get that out the way. And like you said, when we approach it, let's approach it from the beginning. Correct definition, correct understanding, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to understand each other as male and female.
Well said. Well said.
Down, you
Yeah.
got a good one on your hand tonight.
You ain't lying, boy.
So in the context of what I was saying about, you know, a lot of men not wanting to be alone, specifically, it's essentially the talk of you in a relationship, right? You end it, the relationship ends. And instead of you taking time to be alone or,
okay.
you know what I'm saying, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, you know what? I don't want to sit with myself. I'm going to go. You get what I'm saying? So when I ask that question, that is what I'm referring to. Essentially, yes, we all know that, you know, men were not created to be alone. God created a woman for his rib to be his helpmate. 100%. That is correct. What I'm speaking on is the relationship aspect of it ending. You know, like you said, women get a time to be alone. You know, you sit and, you know, essentially and kind of, you know, let it hurt a little bit, sting a little bit. And men do it too sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But the hopping from one to another.
Yeah, that's problematic.
You know, that is where it's like, is it challenging for you to be alone in that aspect? Obviously, you're not supposed to be alone. You get what I'm saying? Everybody is supposed to have some type of companionship. There's not a person on this earth. I mean, you know, ants and all them, they have companions. So everybody's supposed to have a companion. However, in that context is essentially what I'm alluding to. And on top of that, too, if we're being honest here, I'm not saying y'all have done this, right? But I'm pretty sure at some age in your life, you know.
Wait, hold on now, down.
Get a little closer to the mic. Get a little closer. Look closer to the mic.
I'm pretty sure sometimes you're like, you don't know me like that. Now go ahead.
You know, at some point it was a thing. You get what I'm saying? The player mindset mentality, right? You know.
No, here's the thing. And fella, we just gonna have to go here, right? We finna give one away. We may express it outwardly to satisfy our pride. That it's a player and we got the one. You know what it really is? And if you could match the biggest player in the world up to a lie detector test, here's the truth of it is.
Don't say it.
When we lose a good woman, we're not done.
Right.
What we are doing consciously or subconsciously is searching for that woman in those women.
Somebody else. Yep.
Right. And unfortunately, the closest that we will ever get to that woman, unless we get it right, is a sexual feeling. But even that becomes numb. That's why we have to have it again. It's almost like a fix.
Right.
Like a drug.
And this is why I say, men and women, if you talk to each other, sit at each other, not justify playing, but look, guess what? The game don't work without you.
Right.
You are the greatest catalyst in a game plan. So you can talk about game, not like game in the whole 9 yards, but guess what? Until you understand, wait a minute, go heal or whatever. But again, we can't move the goalpost.
Right.
Because again, if you like the things he's doing, the thing you buying, the thing that's an opportunist. Let's keep it 100. We can kind of dress it up and say, well, boy, I almost said something. We got to be real on this. You can't say that a prostitute do all these things, a man in trade for sex, but because you don't want to look at yourself as a prostitute, you can do the act but not get the result. Like, let's be real.
Come on, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because to your point, if a male is doing it, no, bro, you're damaging different people. There is no justification.
Yeah.
But until we have, that's one of those things, again, we look at from a reactionary standpoint. At the end of the day, sit down and go heal. But guess what? The woman don't unfortunately get a chance to see that on the front end. Right? If this man just come and reinventing himself and you with the next one, And that's why I say, male, there's nothing wrong. You can be damaged. You can come from this and need help and all that. But accountability is your responsibility. There's never a point in time. Even when I said I struggle a point, that was still my responsibility.
Exactly.
That was still for me to be accountable. Well, it's wrong. Even if I don't know the right, and that's the thing we got to quit taking ourselves off the hook as men.
Right.
We can be in a space where we don't understand and know how to do right, but still know that what we're doing is wrong. Two
That's
things
true.
can be true at the same time. Because
Yeah.
you look at the ultimate end of this. Let's just make it clearer to what Dan is talking about. Could you imagine if these women really thought you would have won? Made their changes, did their homework, did their work on themselves, and prepare themselves for you. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And you mean to tell me you do that type of damage that yourself do? Do you see where that becomes full circle? Hurt person, hurt a person.
Hurt person.
And that's why to me it's
Condition.
like time out, because like Donna said, if that person is for they for you, like Donna said on the last podcast, look, if she the type of woman say, go get your help and I'll be right here, guess what? It's not even about her, no disrespect. It's about you. And once you fix you, you'll know that's a person for you because they waited for you. Guess what? The other person for you. So you can't be selfish when you're talking about interacting with someone in a relationship level to where potentially there could be more. Right?
Yeah.
So I think we have to, we usually approach these things with that blind band-aid, so to speak. But yeah, as men, a lot of time we are searching, and our pride won't either allow us, or let's be honest, sometimes the damage is too big enough. Jesus Christ. Sometimes the damage is too big enough to where once a girl's gone, she's gone for good.
Yeah.
And that hurts. But it does not give us permission to try to lose ourselves and or try to search for her in other women. So definitely in that way, that can be very detrimental. That can create even more hurt, because now you can only imagine what it does for her trust.
Right.
And now you started a string of people to where I always say, now she finds the man that's for her, and guess what he got to deal with?
Yep.
You got to deal with the foolishness that you deposited in her. So it keeps on going, man.
Yeah. So Diana, let me ask a question then, and let's make that question reciprocal then, because we gave the man's point of view. What about it when the damage is coming from the other way around? Because again, we're unfiltered. So I would like to hear from you speaking not on all women.
Because usually when women do this, it's like, you that I've seen some advice out there, date them all. And like, wait a minute, like, is that?
I wasn't trying to go there, but we don't go there.
Yeah, I don't want to be one of the all, but no, seriously.
But yeah, seriously though,
there is sometimes some bias there, but I'm interested in seeing what it looks like.
I think from some of the women's viewpoint is it's almost as if we're conditioned in a sense, because a lot of times, depending on the type of man that said woman was with, and obviously there are many sets of men, just as there are many sets of women. The type of man that women are encountering are not the greatest of the greatest. And essentially, we as women, we love and we love hard, right? And we want to give you chance after chance after chance after chance. And essentially, a lot of times with doing that, it allows the man to feel like he can get away with a multitude of things. So when he begins to do her wrong, even more wrong, because she's allowed, all these things to essentially go down, her mentality when she leaves that scenario is all men cheat or all men do X, Y, and Z. And again, social media, date them all, or date them for their money. Like it's whatever is put into the atmosphere, and people are lashing to it based off of their experiences. Because we all experience heartbreak at some point in our lives, right? And there are women who essentially do the same thing. You get what I'm saying? Not all women, but there are some who will hop from man to man, or, I mean, it's interchangeable. There's no gender based when it comes to that. At the end of the day, it's everybody's, not everybody. People are doing it. You get what I'm saying? People, not man, not women, but people. At one point, 100%, I do believe that it was specifically catered to men. But women started waking up. You get what I'm saying? They're like, hold on now. You're not going to keep using me for X, Y, and Z. You get what I'm saying? Now I'm going to hit you with the same thing you've been hitting me with, you know? So then it becomes this pattern, right? And essentially it becomes a habit until she, you know, and like what they say, the healthy, you know, relationship, or the emotionally intelligent man, emotionally unavailable man, emotionally unavailable woman. It's the same thing. It's no gender.
Yeah.
Essentially, either sex can be emotionally unavailable or emotionally intelligent. You know, essentially, for women, it's sometimes we're taught a little bit earlier than men, right? Essentially, men are not taught the emotional intelligent part of it. You are bred essentially to be the doer and machine, and you know, be all hardcore or whatever. And then later, you know, you begin to learn, you know, certain aspects of the emotional intelligence aspect of it. But again, like I said, I can't make it female versus male. Essentially, it's across the board at this point.
Well said.
And make no mistake about it, whether it's male or female. And this is, you know, when you're jumping around from person to person, and let's just say if it's about the sex or about the things, it may look like it's the act. It's about the act of sex. That the sex is the cover up.
Exactly.
Right. That's just to cover up the hurt and the pain and the humiliation that you're actually dealing with. And so I think a lot of times, and I know that sounds so cliche what Dana said, but it really is true. It has nothing with gender. And I think a lot of times, Dana, that's the hardest thing. Like, that sounds good, that sounds mature, but that's the hardest thing to really just sit and really think that it is not about the gender, because so much of what we've been taught, consciously or subconsciously, have been based on gender.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we just really let that shit, right. It has to be, right? If you're in a relationship, it has to be, right? Like, it can't be me. My ex cheated. I want to go to counseling. I want to talk about the cheating. Come to find out, James, there's some things you can do better. Wait a minute. Even the cheating. Yes, James, because we all are imperfect.
Individual
when it's all said and done, we're all imperfect. And I think too often we take these conversations off the table. And here's one down that bothers me. You said one earlier. When it's time to understand and explain, we take it off the table as an excuse. I can't give you any. If you've already looked at what I'm saying as an excuse, there's literally none I can give you, right? And I don't think we understand how unhealthy it is. We even do it to our children. Why'd you do that? That's dumb. They don't know, because they're imperfect. Did you ever take consideration? Did you actually teach them? Did you ever take consideration they probably didn't learn the way that you taught them? Did you ever take in consideration that the teacher was just ineffective in which you taught? Like, there's so many nuances to that, but we love playing judge when we're hurt. See, when we say hurt people, it's not always about just the pain we inflict. It hurts people also because guess what? You got to be perfect, Dana.
Yeah.
And if you ain't perfect, you're going to give me an answer because you hurt me. Well, damn, okay, I hurt you, but not you going to be funny. Okay,
my answer.
We got to move on, right? Like, I can't stay in this, right? And that's why I believe that loneliness can translate when you're alone and be toxic. Because now everything becomes right. You worked over
trying to fill a void.
Conversation, right? You worked over it. I got all down as answers. I'm gonna answer that, and I know this, but I remember the time she said this and she back to it. So I got all her answers. I ain't had now conversation with them. So now when I finally bring myself and come out of watch this. How selfish is
you ready to throw out the punches.
Look how unselfish that is. When I come out of my loneliness in a long time, we ain't gonna take in consideration that Dana probably was trying to help me in that space, but she was nice enough to say, I'm gonna allow him that time. See, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
See, a lot of time I think it's some of us out there think because we can just ask for it. Like I said, it sounds sexy. You know me with words. What is your agenda?
Right.
Sometimes we can
Mm-hmm.
be too good of a good person.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I come out
Oh
all of this,
yeah.
and here's Anna
Agreed.
who's giving me that time, respect me. She's done everything right. And guess what? I'm coming to her loaded. And as soon as she do something that didn't compute the way I thought it was or sounded
Mm-hmm.
right, I
Mm-hmm.
lashed out.
Mm-hmm.
That's another way why
Mhm.
hurt people hurt people. So that's why I was
Mm-hmm.
saying earlier, some of this is in context of right and wrong, but it
Yeah.
really also on a higher level,
Mhm.
what's effective,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Right.
if I ask for Dana to be this partner, give me my space all the time. I heard you say something earlier, Carlos, and she does that. But she's not giving me that space and time for me to make her my villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I come back and I treat her and I feel I have the right and authority to literally treat her like a villain after she giving me the space.
Mm-hmm.
That's unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. Yeah, we.
Alone versus loneliness.
Mm.
Similar but different, man. I
But
think
different.
this is a great conversation. My hope and prayer is that the audience place themselves. Like there are so many nuances to this, but at the end of the day, none of this works if you're not truthful with yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you find yourself
Right.
not being able to be truthful with yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
That just means, and I mean this in no, not trying to be funny. You definitely need help.
Yeah.
When you can't find your
Mhm.
truth, when you can't come to your truth, first of all, there's nothing wrong with that. But that just means there's been some damage that is done that you need somebody, just like me, as I said, I'm sit here and I take medicine and it don't work. I need somebody else. I need more help than what I need. But ultimately, that's where it actually starts to me. It's like you have to just own your truth. And as all three of us said it all tonight, it has nothing to do with gender. I think
Exactly.
that's the biggest thing we have to get
Right.
out of our mind. We talk it, we speak it, we see it on social media, like Dana said. We have to lose every component of that. Because
Yeah.
there's nowhere where we can find any factual proof that emotions are based it's just not there. And I
Mm.
think conversations like this will become more normalized. And I think every time we have these conversations, notice what we're saying.
Mm.
That's a human thing. That's not even,
Male or
yeah.
female. Mm-hmm.
But we done already built up a full onslaught, like I said, with Diana. We'll built this full onslaught. Just because she a female,
Mm-hmm.
she's a human. Right? Let's
Yeah.
walk down that road.
Yes, sir.
Diana, you have anything else for us?
No, I think this about wraps it up. I think like this definitive notion of alone versus lonely, it's so much to unpack. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
we could sit here for hours and go and talk about this. I do think for the moment, I think we kind of hit home with our definitive notions of our alone, and our lonely. And I think that's the best part about it, being able to define it for yourself, getting an understanding of what it looks like for you. And again, a lot of people don't necessarily know the difference. So being able to actually talk about it and, go to some places that you probably didn't want to go to give an example or an experience of it is even greater because they get to see
Yeah.
the vulnerability in you.
Okay.
Mm.
Look, I want to do
I
something
think we
different.
did.
Again, thank you all who have hung in here with us.
Yes, sir.
Um, this has been another great one, alone versus lonely, different yet familiar. I want to do something different as we close out here tonight. Um, lot of great information has been
Whole lot.
discussed here. I can't wait to watch this one back. I'm not going to even lie. But what I want to do, I want, if I can ask Diana, anything that we discussed tonight, what point would, if you could speak to our male audience from a female's perspective, what do you want them to get or take away? It can be on any range of what we talked about. Carlos,
Mm.
if you can do the opposite of that.
Okay.
And this is not so much, this, but just I think it's something about hearing it, like I said before, and
Mm.
seeing it. Here's a female talking to us. Fellas, we ain't gonna do nothing but receive. It's no rebuttal. It's no she's coming from. She is talking to us. And then Carlos, I want you to do the same thing to the female. And then I'll bring up the rear and tie it together and just say, as men and women, this is
Okay.
what it could be any point that stuck out to you or resonated with you.
Okay.
Essentially, the only thing that the whole thing was huge, right? Everything that we discussed about it. My takeaway that I would like to cue to the men out there is vulnerability is good. I think being able to talk about your narrative of what it looks like for you, I think that's huge. I think a lot of times men are not necessarily given the space to do so, or you are given it and you're just so I won't say afraid, but like hesitant based off of previous scenarios to where that, like Carlos said earlier, the door may have been closed on you. But I do believe that a lot of times the door is open. You just need to walk through it, and give that grace to that individual to be able to talk about it, because we do want to hear you. We do want to see you. We do want to listen to you. We do want to be that space for you. So please speak up and know that the door is open. It's not cracked. It's not glued shut. It's 100% wide open. So walk through it, talk through it so we can get through it.
Man, boy, girl, you almost had me.
Man, don't forget, I get the left shoulder, James.
Whew. I told myself I wasn't going.
The one thing that we, as men, would like the women to take away is to understand that we do need you. You are vital to us. You may not think so, but your words play a large part in who we are and what we are. You know, I can't express enough saying that we need, understand too that when we do come, we are coming with that need. And we want you to understand that we need you. So sometimes, yeah, it may take a little extra effort, but we're willing to do that if we know that you understand we need you just like we want to be needed as well. So the main thing I got from it is understanding, hey, we need you just like you need. We need you. And I mean, that's for me. That's the biggest thing to understand. We ladies, we need y'all. That's all I got.
Being alone is optional. Loneliness should never be an option. There are too many people in this world for us at any point in time to have to literally be okay in our loneliness. To not talk about it, to not express it, to not have to deal with it, that's never an option. Being alone, it can be an option, right? And even that we've talked about tonight, sometimes in certain contexts, that can be detrimental. But I think as men and women, I always remember alone is an option, but when you're dealing with your loneliness and lonely, that should never be an option. And I just think as we continue to have these conversations, if we challenge ourselves, just like working out, eating right, or anything else, challenge ourselves what we have already perceived as the norm. I think sometimes, and we didn't get off into that, is that one of the great things about being alone is that it helps you work on the relationship with yourself, so that you'll know who to give in your secondary relationship. And so I think in that relationship with self, challenge ourselves as men and women alike. Am I going along with the norm? Am I speaking out of my hurt? Am I speaking out of my pain? Am I speaking out of my ignorance? Am I speaking out of my stupidity? And if no matter whatever one of those things is, if I know I cannot change the narrative, as same as something is wrong with my body and over the counter don't work and I go to the hospital, let me go get some help. There's too much help out here. And I mean that now. to where there is no longer the excuse to say we cannot financially afford to get mental health. Trust me, and if you're struggling with it, I challenge you, reach out to us and I'll find some. I think we have to get comfortable as men and women, not always about what we know, but sometimes it's about what we don't know. And I think if we bring what we don't know to each other, like I said before, it's the problem at hand, but now we're setting ourselves for all the type of problems later on. And someone has to win and someone has to lose, and that's no situation to be in. You guys, this has been a great one. I thank you, Carlos. Diana, you were magnificent, man. This was, like I said, you're needed. There is a gift that you bring here that challenges us, that changes the whole dynamic of this. And so I thank you for being the voice of a woman who's open, who's transparent, and want to have these conversations with us as men. Not just to learn, but also challenge us to be able to separate excuse from understanding. Right. To be able to differentiate that and be able to look as men to say, when we speak to you all as women, make sure it's not an excuse, but it's a reason, and not just lay our laurels right there. There's still that step of accountability. And so I love it, man. Alone versus lonely, different yet familiar. This has been a great one. You guys, as always, follow us on the Podbean app. Download that out of your Apple store, your Android store. Look us up, Unfiltered Kings Podcast. Follow us. Listen to the content. Leave your reviews. Leave your comments. Join us on Facebook. If there's any topics, man, that you want to talk about, put it on the page. We are definitely active on that page. If it's something that's personal, you can inbox us. We do believe in confidentiality. If you want to be on the show, believe it or not, to give your opinion. And again, we agree to disagree. As you can see, we don't get disrespectful, things of that sort. We try to vibrate on a higher level. So if you're interested in any of these things, or if there's a topic that you would like for us to talk about, do not hesitate to reach out to one of us or inbox us, because we want to be here and show you guys that men and women can talk to each other, not at each other. This has been another episode of Unfiltered King Podcast. I'm James. That's Carlos. That's Diana. Frankie, hope you feel better. We're out. Until next time.
Yep.